Okay, algebra. Today we're discussing percents with ratios and proportions. So get out your notebook and let's take some notes. First of all, percent means per 100. So write that down, per 100 or out of 100. All right. So the first thing you want to be able to do is write a ratio representing a percent. So here you have 17%. If you're writing it as a ratio, that means you're just writing it as a fraction. So you're going to take the percent, make that 100, and put it in the denominator. Same thing with number 2, 73% is written as 73 over 100. We're going to use these ratios to solve a percent problem. So to solve a percent problem, one of the ways you can do it is you can set up a proportion in the form of part over whole is equal to percent over 100. This is called a percent proportion. When you see the word is, that is usually the part, and when you see the word of, that's going to represent the whole. And then you set that equal to percent over 100. So let's do an example. Example number 3, we're going to set up a proportion to solve. Now there is another way to do it, and we'll go over that in a minute. So what number, so you're looking for what number is, that's going to be your part, 35% of 60. So what number is, you take x, that's your part, and you're going to put it over your whole. This says of 60, so that means that's your whole. The of is the key word. Of 60 means that's your whole. Is 35%, so you put equals, and then you put your percent over 100. And then you use what we learned previously. You're going to cross multiply. So here you have 100x is equal to 35 times 60. 35 times 60 is 2100. So then I divide by 100, divide by 100. So x is going to be equal to 21. So what number is 35% of 60? That's 21. You could replace that with 21 is 35% of 60. In order to check this, you could just replace this x with 21, and you could divide both of these on the calculator to see if you get the same. And you should get 0.35 when you divide it on the calculator. All right, let's try another one. So what percent, that looks like, okay, that's all right. All right, what percent of 120 is 90? We're going to set up a proportion. Remember, our proportion looks like this. Part over whole equals percent over 100. So now you're looking for the percent. So what percent is here? So you're looking for the percent over 100. Of 120, that means that's your whole, so you put that on the bottom. And is 90, that's your part, so that goes on top. So now you have a proportion that you can solve. So you would cross multiply, so you'd get 120x is equal to 90 times 100, which is 9,000. And then you would divide by 120, the number that's with the x. And so you get x is equal to 75%. And that would be your answer. All right, let's try one more like this. All right, on this one, it says 27 is. So that's going to be your part. Is means part. So 27 is 45%. So then you put the 45 over 100. Oops. And then it says of what number? So of x. So we don't know what our whole is. But we can solve it. We can cross multiply, get 2700 is equal to 45x. Divide by 45. And I would get x is equal to 60 if you divide that out on your calculator. So 60 is the whole, which would go here. 27 out of 60 equals 45 over 100. And again, you can divide that on your calculator to check. All right, let's show you a different way of doing it. So the way that we just did it was called a proportion, a percent proportion. But we can also solve these problems by using an equation to find your percent. And the equation formula that you want to write down is this. 25% of 20 is 5. So you have a percent, you have a whole, and you have a percentage. Okay? So if you know, there are three things that you need to know. You need to know the percent, you need to know the whole, and then you need to know the percentage, and that's your part. So instead of percentage, you might want to just put part right here. Okay, so let's show you how we would use this. If you know two of these, what it says is if you know two of these, then the third one can be determined. So we're going to write, instead of a proportion, we're going to write an equation. So what number, so whenever you see that, that's your x or your n, is, that means equals to 35% of 70. Now when you write your percent, you need to write it as a decimal. So 0.35, that means of, so we're going to multiply times 70. And when you multiply that on your calculator, you should get x is equal to 24.5. So try that on your calculator and see if you get the same answer. All right, let's do another one, just to be sure we know how to do it. What number is, so that's your x, is equal to 150% of 24. Now remember when you write percent to decimals, remember Dr. Pepper? So if you're changing a percent to a decimal, you're going to go 2 places to the left and move the decimal. So if this is 150%, you drop the percent sign and you move the decimal 2 places to the left. So 150% is 1.5. Of means to multiply, so we're going to multiply 1.5 times 24. And you get 36. So x is equal to 36. 36 is 150% of 24. All right, so let's do another one. So here we have 59.5. So I'm going to write that down. Is, that means equals. And then what percent, that's what we don't know. So x times 17. So we don't know the percent. So if I take this and then I solve it, so now I have an equation, I can rewrite it so it looks like this, 17x. Now if I divide both sides by 17, I get x is equal to 3.5. But that's not my answer. That's my answer in percent form, so I actually have to, or decimal form, I actually have to change that to a percent. And this is decimal to percent, so when you do decimal to percent, you move the decimal 2 places to the right. So it's actually 350%. So let's look at that. 59, if that's the part, so that's your part, and then 17 is your whole. You're looking for the percent over 100. And notice that 59.5 is much bigger than 17, so it makes sense that 350% would be your answer. Okay, I think now it's time for some word problems. So let's go on. All right, so we're going to solve this problem by setting up a proportion. James hits the bullseye of the archery target with an arrow 52% of the time. So we need to write that up. 52%, we're doing a proportion, so we're going to do 52 over 100. While practicing on Friday, James shot his bow and arrow 26 times. About how many times did he hit the bullseye? So we need to figure out what is the part and what is the whole. The part goes on top. He says he shot the arrow 26 times, so that's actually the total, so we'll put that on the bottom. About how many times did he hit the bullseye? So that's what we're looking at. Alright, so now we need to cross multiply and solve. Alright, so I do 52 times 26, which is 1,352, is equal to 100x. Divide by 100, and x is equal to 13.52 times. So then we would just kind of round that to 14. So he hit the bullseye about 14 times. All right, let's do another one. All right, so example 7. We're going to use a proportion again to solve. So Richard bought a new home, calculated that he would pay $114 a month for it. If his monthly income is $950, what percent of his income is he paying for the new center? So remember, our proportion is percent over 100 equals part over the whole. So all we have to do is fill in what we know. We don't know the percent, so I'm just going to put x over 100. And then the part is going to be what he pays per month. And then the whole is going to be his monthly income. And then all I have to do is cross multiply and solve. So go ahead and do that. This should be your equation, and then all you have to do is divide by 950. And you should get 12% as x. So he's paying 12% of his income for the new home entertainment center. All right, a couple of more word problems, and then we'll be done. All right, this time we're going to use our percentage equation to solve the problem. So this is our percent equation again, so you might want to write it down or just make sure you know it. You take the percent, you multiply it times the whole, and it will give you your part. All right, so here we go. Let's fill in the information. So Mr. Barrett received a 5% commission on the selling price of his house. If his commission was $7,200, what was the selling price? So this $7,200 is the commission, that is your part. The selling price is your whole. All right, so let's fill in. So first you put your percent, so 5% times the whole, which we don't know, so times x, is your equal sign, is equal to 7,200. All right, when we're working with percents in the percent equation, you must change the percent to a decimal. So we're going to change 5% by moving the decimal 2 places to the left. You get 0.05x is equal to 7,200. And now you have an equation that you can solve and just divide by 0.05. And you will find that when you divide, the selling price of his house is $144,000. All right, let's try one more. All right, here's our last one. Jan bought a coat at Hot Topic that was originally priced at $200. She received a $34 discount. What was the percent discount? So we're going to use this equation. So you put the percent first. We don't know what the percent is, so we're just going to put x as our percent times of the whole. So what is the whole? 200 was the original price, so that's going to be the whole, is equal to $34. All right, I can rewrite that as 200x equals 34, and then all I have to do is divide. So divide both sides by 200, and x is equal to 34 over 200, which when you divide it out, you get 0.17, and you have to change that to a percent by moving the decimal, so it's 17%. Okay, I think we're done. So thanks for listening. Hopefully you know both how to solve these percent problems by an equation, which is what we just used, and then by the proportion method, which is percent over 100 equals part over whole. Either way works. All right, thanks for watching.